Welcome to On Issues. I'm Councilman Jim Waring, and joining me on today's show is Phoenix Budget and Research Director Jeff Barton. Jeff, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I think you've done this every year. You've been the budget director, and we appreciate your good work, which we've talked about at a lot of council meetings, but people might have missed those, so this is a chance for people to kind of catch up on the Phoenix budget. How big is it? Where does it come from? What's in it this year? What's different from this year to last year? So forth. So starting there, maybe you just talk a little bit about the process, if you would, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. Where we are in the process now, we're in the part of the process where we're going through our community budget hearings. So we take the budget out to about 15 different hearings so the community can engage us, engage you, tell us what they like and what they don't like about the budget. This year, we've got about a $2.9 million surplus that we've proposed adding to a variety of different things: public safety, homelessness, sober living, arts and culture, and things like that.
Now, I will say, you mentioned the budget meetings, but this is a taped show. So if you're watching this at home, the budget meetings are now over, correct? By the time they would see this, yeah. So tonight being April 17th. That's the last 3 of the budget hearings. How many budget hearings are there around the city?
So right now we have about 15. So you're correct. Tonight we have 12, 13, or 13, 14, and 15 tonight.
Yep. And so it's a couple each district, for the most part. And then I think we do one in Spanish as well?
We do. We do a Spanish hearing at Maryvale Community Center, which we had that last week. A good turnout. We had about 40 speakers, and we actually had about 200 speaker cards also turned in for that particular
200?
meeting.
Holy smoke. That's a big meeting, even in tough budget years, which this is not. We thought at one time, but it has not turned out to be for this year anyway. So at the budget hearings, we usually have different staffers and so forth, try to spread them out. Obviously, we have 3 tonight. So, what gets talked about there? What this year has been kind of the main focus? I know you haven't been to everyone because you can't be in 3 places or more at once. As good as you are, that's not going to happen. But even your family members would probably agree with that. But I guess what's been like the driving issue?
There's always a theme. This year, what we're hearing most about is homelessness. A lot of people in the community are really concerned about homelessness and what the city can do to help combat homelessness and eradicate homelessness. We're also hearing a lot about public safety, which we hear every single year. Folks are talking about the need for additional firefighters to help response times, specifically in certain parts of the city. And we're also hearing from our police union and other folks in the community talking about the need for additional police officers. We also, every year, we get a large contingent from the Friends of the Library, so they're out always asking for additional libraries. Their preference is that every library branch be open every day of the week, so that's something that we're definitely working on as we come away from the Great Recession. We also have folks that also want more additional arts funding. They also like to talk about how every dollar of arts funding, what it adds to the community and what it adds to our coffers. So those are the big things that we're hearing about from the community at our budget hearings this year.
And I think this year, the library, as you suggested it, and it sort of speaks to me. I was a library kid growing up, going with my mom and so forth, and I spent a lot of time at our libraries.
My wife is
now.
a librarian.
Yep. Oh, very good. Well, different. I go to the different libraries. I'll probably go to one before the meeting tonight, just to see what kind of books they have, and maybe use a computer or something for a few minutes. But I think what we're doing there is keeping the hours that were added to the libraries that were add-ons from Barton Bar being closed, and then Barton Bar will open, and those other library hours will stay the same.
That is correct.
So there are going to be more library hours.
There will. So 4 branches. We had additional 4 hours added on Sunday as a result of Barton Bar being closed. When Barton Bar reopens in June, their proposal is that those 4 hours at those 4 branches stay open.
And 4 hours is the most we do on Sundays, right? It's always 1 to 5. Right. I know the one I go to, but I think everywhere. And I know that's a little tricky budget-wise because now you have staffers who are working a partial day, and that does get. I've got, unfortunately, a chance to explain that to a few people. Why sometimes the library is closed on Sunday, but it's more efficient than because otherwise the people got to be routed around and work partial days. Right. But some of the other things you mentioned, the arts, that's sort of a standard one. But the homeless, that's one that's a little newer and obviously very tragic in many respects and has a lot of implications for communities. 60% increase, I think, is what police and other social service agencies tell us just in 2 years. Right. I think it is. So it's definitely something that the city is aware of. You talked about additional resources. You want to talk a little bit about how those are allocated?
Yeah, so what we're proposing in the trial budget that folks are evaluating now is adding additional positions to Human Services and our Neighborhood Services Department. Those departments are responsible for coordinating the effort that the city is leading to work towards homelessness. We also are proposing that we add an additional set of outreach or navigator teams to help connect those homeless individuals with services that are provided either by nonprofits or other state agencies. And also 2 additional park rangers were also added to help the park rangers enforce, policies in flatland parks. So those are the main things that we're adding for homelessness. The other things that we're hearing about at the community budget hearings are helping the city engage or clean up some of these homeless encampments. So that's the other piece that we're really hearing about at the hearing. So I think what you'll see in the city manager's budget when we come back on May 8th, with this being a tape show, you'll see us probably have something being proposed to help with the cleanup efforts that the city engages in.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the cleanup efforts, because we have a lot of state trust land in my area. Not as many parks as I'd like, but state trust land. And realistically, these encampments get sort of in bed, and it's big areas we're talking about, so they're not immediately obvious if you're just driving by, a several hundred-acre plot or something. You might not necessarily even know people are there, but a lot of times they are. And that's got a lot of implications. Obviously, it's not the safest, most sanitary. There's a lot of issues. So I think in that case, resources are well directed in this particular area, but it's an area that was still a need a couple of years ago, but it's grown exponentially for reasons that are still somewhat unclear, whether it's the opioid crisis or the residual from the downturn. It's hard to say, but regardless, it's impacting neighborhoods. We've got to do something about it. So try to anyway. It's very hard. It's a population that you can't force people to seek help and treatment either.
It's something also I don't think is just unique to Phoenix. I mean, a lot of the information that I'm reading anecdotally, you see this explosion across the entire country. So it's not unique to Phoenix.
We have a warmer climate, so I wouldn't be surprised if some folks living that life migrate down here. But it's sad to see. We're going on with the police hiring plan.
That is correct.
Yep. So how many officers this year?
So right now we're at about 2,940 or so officers, give or take. That changes every minute of the day.
People retire, people get hired, people get through the academy.
As you know, the target that we've been working for is 3,125 sworn positions. So that's about 180 positions that we have to get to over the next couple of years. The plan is that they get there by the end of next fiscal year. So every position that retires, we're replacing that position, plus we need a net increase of 180 officers. So next year, you're looking at probably hiring somewhere in the range of 300 officers.
Right. And just to be clear, because this comes up at every meeting I have about this, people are unclear when we say we're going to get 200 officers, like, yeah, but 200 retired. That's a net increase. We're going to a net increase to get to the 3,000 plus, and we're not quite to 3,000 yet. So just so people understand, because I think every time I talk to somebody about this, we do factor in the retirements. We had an aging force because it didn't hire for quite a few years. And so people are now retiring at their own volition, and they're being replaced by younger officers. The city budget, so it's about $1.2 billion. Yeah, roughly.
The proposed budget for next year is $1.3 billion.
Yeah, $1.2 billion. $1.2 billion. I think this is the biggest budget we've had, but it's not that much bigger, was my point, when it was $1.2 billion in about 2007, 2008. It was before my time on the council, but I think that's right. So really it's taken all this time to sort of get back to where it was 10 years ago. Not that it's a goal to spend more money, but obviously you've got a bigger city, so we've got a bigger population, we've got a slightly bigger budget. But a greater percentage of that is being used to address pension costs.
That's correct.
What's the difference over those 10 years?
So back in 08-09, general fund pension costs collectively for civilian and sworn pension were about $150 million. In this year's budget, the 17-18 budget, those costs are about $294 million.
Yeah, almost doubled.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost doubled. And remember that 150 million is more than 10% of the city budget. Now, fortunately, we've had, and I've talked about this before, and maybe because he's a good friend, but obviously Bill Gates spearheaded our efficiency effort, so I know that was over $100 million. Same services, fewer costs, but all that really did, I mean, it was a huge savings, don't get me wrong, and that's going forward, so that's in perpetuity. It's not one-time savings. Right. But it's, I know you know that, but for the audience, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm lecturing you about something that you know intimately and deal with every day. But point being, the pension costs keep going up. The $100 million, we have to scrape and look under seat cushions and really try to just wring out every dime of efficiency just to keep up. When does that if it does, when does that sort of abate?
Well, as you referenced, pension reform has been something that we've been very active at since 2010. So on the civilian side, we're expected over the next 20 years, so over the next 2 decades, we're going to see about $1 billion worth of pension savings. And what we're actually seeing now is some of that reform actually take place.
And that's from the vote from, I think it was March of 2013?
Yes. So we're actually seeing
So
some
citizens participated in that because that changed the formulas that were built into the city charter, which the council cannot just unilaterally change. It has to send it out to voters.
Correct. So what we're seeing now are those civilian pension costs in the general fund are actually starting to mute themselves.
5 years later, right?
Yeah,
Seeing results.
we're actually seeing it. Now on the sworn side, they just went through pension reform. So the state just enacted that last year based on voter reform. Those changes just took effect January of this year.
And that's police and fire
That's
who are in
police
the
and fire.
state system.
So it's going to take us, probably 5 or so years before we really see the impact of that. But what we did this year with council's direction, we did extend our amortization period from 20 years to 25 years, and that's going to give us some flexibility. With that extended amortization period, we actually did something unique this year as well. We created a pension stabilization fund, and what we've done is we've taken current year savings from sworn pension, which was about $25 million in the general fund, and we stuck that into this reserve. The thought is, as we see that volatility over the next few years in the sworn pension costs, that we'll use that fund to help balance that out to reduce the drain on the general fund moving forward.
So you got almost 300 million of the 1.3 billion is tied up in pensions. So almost a quarter, where it used to be more like 10%. And so that just illustrates, it's sort of an ongoing problem for the city of Phoenix. We've done pretty well with healthcare costs, correct? I mean, increases, but nothing like other industries that have experienced. Obviously, any increase, particularly for people who don't have as many means as others, that's certainly an issue, but we've managed that pretty adroitly. The pension costs are a different thing. But taking that out, how much of the city budget is police and fire? Just frontline police and fire?
Public safety as a whole is about 72% of the overall budget. Police and fire on the general fund side are about $750 million, almost $800 million of that 1.2, 1.3.
Then you also include the judges and so forth. So
in the total of public safety, criminal justice, it's about 72%.
Yeah, so that's a big chunk of our budget. That's $900 million. It's something that we missed if it was gone. So we definitely have our challenges, given how many of our staffers are in that state system that we mentioned earlier, and we do not get to unilaterally change that either. That's something that has to be a state effort. As you said, the change was made last year, or 2 years ago. I can't remember exactly, but that was a big win, but it didn't solve the problem. Unfortunately, these things get characterized as, pish posh, we did that, now we can move on, and unfortunately, for us who have to balance the budget, that's not really true. We are getting, though, I think, more cognizant of how we're spending our money, and I definitely think we've been more efficient. I think the proof is in the pudding. We have fewer staffers. So we used to have about 17,000 or so, and now we have about 14,000 providing the same services, bigger city. We're the fastest growing city and the fastest growing county, last I heard, in the country. So people want to move here. It's a good problem to have. But obviously we also have to build more roads and do a lot of different things. How much money do you, as the budget director, I don't want to say passes through your hands, that implies, you're Bill Gates or something, the other one, the richer one than our former colleague. How much money cycles through the city?
On a revenue basis, on the general fund side, you're looking at about $1 billion of general fund revenue. All in, our total budget's about $4 billion, which is a huge budget. I mean, that's the size of a Fortune 500.
That's including the airport,
that's everything.
Garbage trucks, and the water department, and everything.
So you're looking at a Fortune 500 company, easily.
Yeah, no, it's a big undertaking. How big is your staff to manage all that?
My staff in B&R is less than 30. I've got a staff of less than 30 that help me. They range from everything from management assistant twos who help with our departments on the programmatic aspect of the services that we provide. Then I've got a group of folks that are more budget analysts. They do more of the revenue forecasting and benefits costing and negotiations costing and things of that nature.
So where do you recruit them from? Do they go to business schools, or is it just a diversity?
It's a wide variety. I mean, I think for the management assistant too, generally speaking, what we look at, we look for individuals that are more generalist in nature, because they're going to do more than just budget. They also are responsible for doing those research studies to determine whether programs are efficient or not efficient, or we should do away with a program or expand a program. That's how I came into the department. I actually came from audit as an auditor, and then I transitioned over to the budget and research department as a management assistant too. So we look for a variety of different skills there.
Did you have an accounting background?
I have a minor in accounting. My bachelor's degree is actually in political science, so I wanted to be in government, so that's that standpoint.
Mission accomplished.
Yes, I'm there. On the other side, our budget analysts, they're folks that really they're the true accountants. They like to actually do the bean counting, if you will, ticking and tying everything, doing reconciliations. We've got one individual that we just brought in who has a economy background, or economics background, sorry. And so she just actually finished her PhD, so we're really excited about that. She just defended her thesis the other day, so we're really excited for her.
She's too good to be working with people like me. This is so disappointing that she sold herself so short, but it's fantastic that we can attract people like that. Going forward, we've got the audit department, and they sort of monitor, for better or worse, how the money is being spent. How do the two departments interact?
We actually, there are three of us, so budget and research, finance, and audit. We actually operate, I think, different than most other places do. In a lot of places, audit, they're the guys behind the curtain. You send them to a dark room when they come to look at you. But audit here, they're really your friends. They're there to help. You sit on the audit committee along with me. We review those audits.
It's a good learning experience,
it is a good
too.
learning experience.
Any new council person, I'm not new anymore, but I still think it's a good experience to find out kind of what's going on.
I actually think it's a good learning experience for any city employee as well, especially if you aspire to be a department head. The experience and the learning that I got in audit, it helped me tremendously. You learn internal controls, you learn how to do evaluations, you learn how to project costs and look at costs. So it's
and
a
the
great
questions that the
experience.
private sector accountants that we have serving on that committee, really volunteering their time, they have a little different perspective. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Are questions they ask all the time. I ask them as well, but they're this is their thing. So I thought that's extremely helpful. Any red flags ever come up? I know there's always ways you can improve, and there have been issues over the years.
We've had little things that pop up that you are aware of, things that have been in the newspaper, obviously, but for the most part, we run a tight ship. I mean, we do continuous auditing. We're there they're there all the time. I say we like I'm still there, but they run a tight ship, and no stone is unturned, and nothing's sacred. So they have the ability. They operate independently, which is also something that's very unique. They report directly to the city manager. In a lot of places, your auditor is embedded in either budget or finance.
No, our
Here
way
it's
is definitely
completely
better.
separate. It's definitely
I don't
better.
say that about every city issue, but this is one case where I will say, yep, that idea was definitely better, and not grudgingly. They definitely got that one right for sure. It is interesting when you start sort of fly-specking things. I would just think, if you forgive me, you've been doing this for a while, so you are an experienced person now, not as young and impressionable perhaps as you once were. So am I wrong in thinking all the new technologies and so forth would make it harder? I'm always surprised. I'll put it a different way. I'm always surprised at the stories I read in the paper about some small town that got taken for $10 million by their city treasurer or something. I would just think it would be so much harder with all the checks and balances, or is it easier?
I think it's a combination. I think a lot of it goes down to education. You've got to make sure that your folks are educated and aware of the things and the types of risks that they're exposed to. I also sit on the audit committee. I'm the chairman of the audit committee for Arizona Federal Credit Union, and you see all types of things happen in the banking industry, similar situations. You look at what happened in the city of Atlanta. The entire city was shut down because of a ransomware attack, and someone clicked on the wrong link, and boom, they can shut the entire city down. So it's really about education and awareness, and I think the city manager has made that a point. We all have to go through an annual security awareness assessment and a test that we have to make sure that we're aware and focused of these types of things.
Yeah. Well, I was reading a book, not to bring politics into it, and I don't mean to make fun of one or the other, but the Democratic Party issue with the hacking of the emails. that wasn't people doing necessarily things they shouldn't have, is my understanding. It was, you look like a legitimate email and you click on it. So just as an aside for folks at home, we do hear about these things on the audit committee. We hire people for cybersecurity. We're dealing with a lot, people are paying us money. You guys have my information to pay the water bill, for example. You automatically take it out. It's just, some would argue we shouldn't be doing that, but for efficiencies and so forth, hopefully the days of simply sending paper bills and writing checks are over. That's a remarkably inefficient system, but it does open us up to new problems from external forces. I am hoping the internal forces, you who might want to do us harm are not there anymore, or stymied by the technology.
You just never know where they're going to come in from. Take the Target, for example. When the Target had the big breach several years ago, they didn't come through the point of sale transaction. They came through the air conditioning HVAC access control system. So anytime there's a door that's open and criminals are smart enough to understand the way that system is programmed, they're going to try to get in.
You wish that people were smart enough to figure that kind of stuff out, would work for the forces of good, but alas, it seems like the good guys are kind of outnumbered in protecting our money. But so far, the city of Phoenix has not had a major breach.
Knock on wood. I think there's.
I felt bad saying it out loud. I understand what you're saying.
I think there's a saying out there. It's not a question of if.
It's not because people aren't trying.
It's a question of when. If you're a big company that does lots of transactions electronically or remotely, the question is when, not if.
We are, as you indicated, billions. We're a big company that does lots of transactions. You think about all the water. I think there are 400,000 something plus water bills around the city. We have 1.6 million, 1.7 million residents. Think of all the police interactions. The average patrol officer has thousands of interactions with people where he's writing things down, writing down information. We had a data records management renewal, or I guess a new system in place, and it took a while to get that synced up. These are not cheap and not simple expenditures that we're making, but we don't do them lightly. You're trying to increase security and you're trying to increase efficiency. But it's not easy. We had a meeting today where we discussed, in a subcommittee, we discussed the public records requests. And I'm sure you probably get your share, 70,000 in the city of Phoenix, more than Los Angeles. Los Angeles only has 60,000, we have 70,000. And the backlog to do that, it just, it's kind of amazing. Do you get a lot of public records requests, and what are people asking for?
We generally get our fair share, depending on the time of year and the things that we're working on and where we are in the budget process. We get everything from how much have you spent on this particular item, how much is police overtime. They want individual information about costing of positions, we get those. We also get lots of requests from other cities that are trying to do best practices studies or compare us to themselves. So we get our fair share, we do.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, just because of the dollars involved, and people's interest seems to be heightened in how the government is spending their money, and their access to the government through all Twitter and Facebook and so forth. There's just a lot more sharing of information, which is a great thing for transparency, but it increases workload for a fellow like you, and it also can be an onerous task to compile all that information when you're talking about an organization of our size. You did mention the word best practices. I meant to give you this kudo earlier. We've talked about it at the council meetings. A few years ago, we had an issue where we were a little bit of an outlier, because you also talked about our neighborhood cities. But yeah, on revenue, we were predicting one thing and everybody else was predicting something else, and then a third thing sort of happened and we were a little bit off, and that left us hanging a little bit. But last year, you missed it by 0.2 or 0.3.
0.2%.
0.2. I couldn't remember if it was 3 or 2.
$300,000 on $1 billion worth of revenue.
That is amazing for those who aren't used to dealing with numbers of that size. I'd be happy to do that in my checking account over a year with thousands of dollars. That is, I'm always reconciling and so forth, and you still, something always seems to slip through the cracks. That is an amazing. Would you even thought that was possible?
No, and I don't think it'll happen again.
Right, replicating it might be hard.
You and I have talked about this.
You set the bar that high.
You and I have talked about this. There's skill involved. I'm not trying to take anything away from my staff that does that, because they are highly skilled and motivated professionals. But at the same time, a lot of it also comes down to luck. We don't know what the economy is going to do. You and I have had this discussion for years. When's the next recession going to hit? What does that look like? We don't know. And our 5-year forecast kind of shows that. Every year we do this 5-year forecast, and we show these big ranges from a top-end possible surplus to a bottom-end deficit. But that's why we do that. And we took your advice to heart, And we've engaged now some additional sources that allow us to tighten those revenue forecasts. And it's been hugely beneficial. You look at the results and look at where we are. We haven't done cuts in the past couple of years, haven't needed to, and we've managed to balance.
Well, I appreciate you lumping me in on the credit score, but I didn't have to do the work. You guys actually hit. It's easy for me to say you got to get closer to the actual number. I didn't expect that you actually hit on the actual number.
The suggestion came from you, so I would
have suggested, hey, why don't you get within 0.2%? That was an amazing accomplishment. I understand it might be hard to replicate it, but it certainly is very helpful that we going forward whether I vote for the budget or not. I think for the 9 of myself and my 8 colleagues, I think we're all feel a lot better when you have that kind of record of success, which really maybe you didn't replicate that exactly, but you've been pretty spot on the last few years. That really helps because it gives you confidence going forward that barring a big economic downturn or some cataclysmic event, and if you could predict that, you probably wouldn't be working for us, much as I'm sure you enjoy it. You'd probably be on Wall Street, making your fortune. But I think bottom line, you can't do better than that, and it really helps give a feeling of confidence going forward that we're going to know sort of where we're at. Having said that, you talked about the 5-year forecast, and obviously 2 years ago at this time, we thought this would be the doomsday year, where the pension costs would finally catch up with us and so forth. Some things that I didn't necessarily agree with, like pushing off some of the pension debt and so forth, did pass anyway, so that has contributed. But certainly the apocalyptic visions that we feared might happen this year haven't happened. Right. Well, is that just good economy, luck?
I think it's a mix. I think part of it is the economy, but also part of it is the precedent that you guys set down to us. You want us to be very tight and frugal, and we're doing that. Last year, in addition to hitting that revenue number, we actually came in about $14 million under in expenditures. Well, that rolled forward to this year and gave us a bigger beginning balance. We also came to you in early August with some early efficiency actions that the council voted affirmatively on, and we implemented those. They saved $4 million in the current fiscal year and projected to save $6 million ongoing. We tightened up our revenue forecast, and we continue to really put the screws to departments when I go through our technical review process every year and save additional money. So that's how we close the gap. So it's a little bit of everything. It's all hands on deck.
Well, it is extremely helpful to us to be able to help citizens and have, like I said, the confidence that we sort of know where we're going to be a year from now. So I appreciate that very much. Amazingly, that's the end of the show. We kind of zipped through it today, but I know you're from Philadelphia, so I'll just close with this. Congratulations on the Eagles and Villanova if you're a fan.
And the Sixers.
Yeah, and the Sixers, yes. So you were experiencing sporting success that I am not familiar with in my recent past. But I appreciate it very much, and if you have any questions or comments, just please call my office at 602-262-7445 or visit my website at phoenix.gov/district2, and we look forward to seeing you next time on The Issues.